Bright. My apologies. I am very tired. But with Bright and Mordecai and there is a lot to think about. We need to make our next move very, very carefully. I mean, I'm all for stabbing Ripple in the chest, but not everyone else would agree with my sentiments.
That's true. In perusing the side RP that you all so graciously provide us, that it's an option. I don't know if it would be a popular one with the Flowerfield family or even with the party, but I suppose we'll see what happens. Let's go over to let's go over to Bright. Bright. Bright, what's happening in your part of the world?
So it's really confusing because I think we were all a little upset because we couldn't talk to Tibba, and we knew he was alive, and then we couldn't talk to him, and then we talked to Ripple, and now I think Tibba's probably dead. In fact, I'm pretty sure, but I'm hoping that Mordecai will try again, and we'll be able to contact him, but if we can't, we have a lot to next. And it's pretty tough because we were talking about going to visit the Temple of Weejas, but Celine doesn't want to. And then we were talking about going back to Westport, but Mordecai doesn't want to. And then we were talking about looking for someone's making noise. Then we were talking about looking for Norlai's brother, but Norlai doesn't want to. So everybody balked on their own storylines, and then so I don't know what to do next.
I think you got that confused.
So
that's the only thing.
I think we're gonna have to stay here as much as it sucks, and I think we should try to take out the flower fields, or at least find proof, because right now, I mean, we have a really good theory, but it's just a theory, and I don't think it's quite enough to go on a everybody just yet, because that would make us technically the bad guys if I'm wrong, which doesn't happen very often, but sometimes it does.
Yes, that's true. There are stories of the heroes falling in their own way.
So I would like to make sure, and maybe that's the best thing that I think we can do. But that's all. Okay, I'm done. Bye.
Bye for now, Bright. We'll see you shortly, and that's not a short joke. Let's go over to Mordecai next. From pink to blue. What's going on, Mordecai?
What isn't going on? That's the question. What's going on with me is at first I was very upset with Celine because she basically just dashed every ability to be able to investigate Ripple Flowerfield in his face. But now we kind of have to try and see about what's going on. If we can contact Tibba, that would be great, because I want to know if that kid's alive. If that kid's alive, then we have a lot more to go on. If not, then I definitely think that Bright's theory is sound. Bright's questions whether or not it's even... I don't even know. I'm as confused as everyone else, but I definitely think that the theories are sound to be
all right.
simple.
Norlai. Sounds like you have to clarify something here. So you do want to find your brother, yes?
Yes.
Okay.
But everyone's like, oh, let's go north, let's go west. And I'm like, no, we were supposed to go south after we found Tibba. And if we're not gonna just go south.
Is there anything else that's weighing on your conscience? On your conscience?
Well, if Ripple's really, a bad guy, and he gave us stuff just so he could, say, oh, we stole that, I don't think we should keep this stuff, and I don't think we should stay in town.
Oh. All right, then. And is there anything that Jade wants to throw in there? I know for a while she must have been taking a nap in the very comfortable mansion, but
No, it's really quite simple. Everyone's trying to overcomplicate the situation. That's the problem. They're trying to make things work out rather than the way they are supposed to be, the way they will be. It doesn't matter how much you care and fuss around it. No. It's really quite simple. Exterminate them. Exterminate the fangs and the fauna. You take them to stake and fire, and you leave them not one. Because they are not of this world. They are the thing that should not be. They should not be here. And we are straying on our path. Tiba, sadly, may be gone to us. But if he is created in that bit of an abomination, I will stake it. I will lop off its head, and I will burn it in the sun.
that sounds like a solid plan. Spoken with conviction. Very well. Then, with this in mind, why don't we pick up back in the Tumbled Wench, where you were dropped off.
We were outside.
Oh, well, yeah, you had gotten out of the carriage.
Because I wanted to find out if there was any contact
we'll
between
do
the
this.
innkeeper and the carriage driver. And to flitter around and take a look.
Your carriage driver is just going to stop and tell you, here you go. There's not going to be any, like, he's not getting down aside from opening the door for you all.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's good to know.
He bids you good day and
Okay.
climbs back up in the bench, and
Okay.
the horses cluck, 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 cluck.
Okay. So that's good. Because I was worried that tell the innkeeper to do bad things. I'm still kind of afraid that Ripple has maybe magically, or I guess possibly non-magically, spying on us in the room, so that's why we had to go outside.
Yes.
Right.
Yes, that was in the side RP.
Yeah.
Okay. So the driver here makes no contact with anyone besides you all. As he courteously opens the door, wishes you a good day, closes, and makes his way down the road, presumably to head back from whence he came.
I suppose my next step would be to try sending again.
Okay.
Try and see if I can contact Tiba, because that's the only way that we can, unless we're stumbling onto a vampire den, unless to find out if he's alive. So.
And my people have a saying. It says, if something's a trap, don't walk into it. And
Very
so
sound advice.
That's a good saying.
concerned about just going like hunting random vampire dens. I don't know that, I mean, it's all great to kill vampires, the bad ones anyway, but I just don't know if it's really going to move the needle in the end, unless we're looking for something specific, like if we think that we could find like a body, but that's probably at the Flowerfield Manor anyway.
Sorry, as a quick side note, I wonder why now this would be on Roll20's end, but I should have a roll bar on my screen, and it is not showing up as a macro, unfortunately. I see the little button underneath me. It says dice rolls, but it's not showing up there. All right. Well, if I have to do it the long way, I shall. All right. So Mordecai, you're gonna do ascending then? You're gonna cast sending?
I'm going to cast sending at Tiba, asking him again where he is.
Okay. Your spell goes off, and you don't blow up, nor do you, set the village on fire with a localized fireball. Oh, that does
That
remind
sounds
me.
good.
I should get this ready. Let's go to the wild magic table. Do. Alrighty. Just in case, just in case. There is no reply from Tiba.
It's not good.
Okay. Well, that's what we expected. So it doesn't really change anything. It's just really sad.
So, are we gonna go looking for these vampires, or are we gonna start an investigation here in town?
I think we should investigate in town. I don't want to spend any more time in town than we have to, but I mean, if nobody wants to go anywhere else, then we're going to have to stay in town. So I think we're going to have to investigate the flower fields.
As far as you know, your invitation for the penthouse is still there. It's still valid. If you want to stay there. I understand there's a suspicion.
I'm pretty suspicious.
Pretty suspicious, too. Alright. Well, I was also wondering if there was a library in town.
Yes. Yeah, there would be a library here in Snamfi.
But how big? Is it a big one or a small one? It's a small town, I guess.
It is a small town. However, the Flowerfield family is known for philanthropy. So, I mean, it's not going to be one of the greatest libraries in all of Mesotopia, let alone the biggest in Mesomasca. But you certainly wouldn't expect a library facility like this in a small town like Snamfi.
But you did say that they are fairly large philanthropists and engaged one, right?
Yes.
As far as what everybody in the town knows. That's what me and
I
Celine
really
found out the other day.
I'm not sure if now is a good time to draw the trump card. Matty,
Yes.
It's the trump card.
you remember Stillwaters, right?
Still
The
Waters?
reference to Stillwaters? Jade has made reference to it several times. Remember the backstory.
Is that in your journal? I got. If there's something specific besides, I know you've mentioned because we're playing off that whole sort of idea.
Is there a way for me to PM it to you without PM it to you over over Twitch, right? And so no one else.
You can't, or you could go through Discord. I have Discord on my second monitor if you wanted to bring up something specific.
No worries.
Because if you are referencing something specific, I want to make sure that I can address that in particular.
I'm gonna want to see if I can find lore or books or anything like that would pertain specifically to Snamfi and its history with vampires.
Sure.
If there's been a history.
That's a good idea. And I'm always up for going to the library. I really like them. So I'm going to go.
Okay. Mordecai and Bright are going to make their way. They're making their way downtown. Norelai, what are you doing?
I'm not really sure. I guess I'll follow Bright and Mordecai.
Alrighty. Celine, do you want to go to the library as well, or is there other sorts of investigating that you would like to do?
The library sounds good. Yeah, no, Celine will follow along to the library.
Sure.
Any kind of like legend about vampires too, Mordecai would be interested in, just to see if he can find out more information about tales about what to expect.
Yeah. I would also like to look for those things. Actually, I'm more interested in the history of the Flowerfield family, and it should be a big deal in this library, so this might be the best place even to look for that. I want to find out, especially like what Ripple. He's not from here. He's from somewhere else. I want to find out what he was doing out there.
Okay.
Also, I want to find out if there's anything that talks about how the whole wild magic thing got started here, and if there's any way we can.
Do I wait? Your sound might have cut out for me here. Can you repeat that last one more time?
Yes, I also want to look for the history of the wild magic zone,
Okay.
and if there's anything we can do to suppress or prevent it.
Sure. Okay.
And something to do about my chicken.
Well, I know how to fix your chicken. What we need to do is when I was back in wizard school, there was a thing that I don't know. I personally would never have done this, but I heard of people who did. Okay, and sometimes there's a thing. It's called dust of sneezing and choking, and if you throw that like up in the air and it goes all over, then everyone sneezes like crazy. And I bet it's strong enough magic that it would even work on you. Because it's magical sneezes. It's not like anything
But why
else.
would you get rid of the chicken? She's really cute.
I have an image, Norlai.
You can
This
just
is not
have the
doing
chicken.
anything for my image.
And I definitely never put a little bottle of dust of sneezing and choking on top of the bathroom door, just in case anyone asks.
It was the other one. All right. Does Jade want to go to the library as well, or based on what's happening, is she going to slink off and start another project?
Oh, such a coin flip, isn't it? I guess here's the question on an out of character level. Do you guys trust me?
You? Yes. Jade?
Smart answer. Matty?
Jade.
Yes.
Jade will slink off to her room as she requires a certain degree of preparation
Okay.
for what she's about to do.
Okay.
Namely,
Okay,
I need to get my makeup.
Okay.
Okay, bye. Don't get into any trouble, and remember, we think Ripple's watching in there.
Counting on it.
She's just gonna walk around the room, just flipping the bird and everywhere, looking for scrying sensors and. Sitting in a very unladylike fashion, just absolutely being an inhospitable guest. All right, so Jade is going back to the penthouse, and the four of you are going to make your way to the library. Navigating the streets. Well, hey, there's no more mysterious murders of people being consumed by plants or the like. But you remember you did see that there was a lot of deliveries being made. There are a lot of fresh plants and little sprouts in them. And there's just other flowers that aren't going to try and eat you.
Vines.
What's that?
Making sure to avoid all the sentry vines.
Well, yes. They fortunately they're very small right now.
I am bringing Herbert.
Well,
along.
with the exception of Herbert, who's smaller. But isn't necessarily big enough to uproot itself and try and go for the kneecaps. But Herbert also doesn't like most of you. Really doesn't like any of you except Norlai.
He's a
Why
good
do
boy.
you bring that along, Norlai?
He's a good boy. Look at him.
Oh.
Plus, it wouldn't be fair to bring Yori and not Herbert.
So finding the library, it is indeed a grand structure. It's not as big as the Flowerfield Mansion, but it is constructed in a similar fashion, with its palatial exterior, and it does have an exquisite interior as well. Going in, there's just stacks of, well, not as in like they're stacked on each other, but as in like shelves of books on several floors. And there's an indoor fountain. There's a lot of plants that are inside the library. And you are seeing, since you know what you're looking for now, you are seeing on the interior of the library, there are century vines that are growing out of several topiaries that are inside the library.
Convenient.
Incredibly inconvenient.
But I'm going to say that you are not close enough to set any of them off except Herbert, who is extremely agitated. As much as a plant can be.
Outside.
No, coming in
Yes.
earlier.
Yes.
I'll put him on the
Do you
windowsill,
really want
but
the
he's gonna
rest
be
of
in.
the town to suspect something is amiss?
Also, it's a library, and you have to be really quiet when you go in there, and Herbert's making a lot of noise.
Snaps? He just snaps. He doesn't bark.
That was for emphasis. It's more or less snapping.
I'm gonna have to insist about this more, Norlai.
There is a very nice patio on the side if you want to enjoy the nice day in a garden, Norlai.
Yeah, I'll do that after I check out a book.
Okay.
Well, maybe we should just go in separately for Norlai. She can go in first, and then we can all go in after.
Fair.
I'm gonna go get a book on plant care.
There. All right, so this library certainly has an abundance of knowledge about plants, how to care for trees and flowers, and you know, in farming and anything that has to deal with plants. It is here. There's like a wing of the library that is just plant lore.
Yeah, specifically about century plants, so I can take care of Herbert.
Tell you what. Well, let's see. You're coming in here. The library. A librarian's going to come over to you, and a very nice tiefling. His name is Rolf, Rolf. Introduces himself, and in Infernal, asks how he may help you.
Oh, see, I have this plant, and I don't really know how to take care of it because I'm not from this town. So do you have any books that would help?
Yes. One moment. I think I've... Yes. This one... I think I've seen this one before. Many people up and down the street seem to be able to grow this variety. I'll tell you what. I think I know where to go. I'll tell you what. He thinks and thinks. He's going to give you a book title to look for. He's going to go this way, and you're going to go that way, and each of you are going to look for this book title, because it could be under several different headings. The Dewey Decimal System has not yet been invented, so we're just going to have to wing it.
They haven't invented the Dewey Decimal System yet?
No.
Jeez, these guys need to get with the times.
I know, what an absolute bunch of savages here in...
We only have the Franklin fraction.
Norlai, go ahead and roll an investigation at advantage.
Yay.
Oh no.
So
I'm not good at this.
either a 1 or a 3. Well, you do have advantage, so that's a very mighty 3. That is 3 times what you would have gotten otherwise.
I did say someone was gonna roll a crit fail, and it was me.
Why are you setting the tone?
So Norlai, you do find your book, and after some investigation here, and you go to reach for it, and take 2 points of bludgeoning damage as you reach for it, and several other books fall and bonk you on the head.
Oh.
In fact, one seems to kind of get hung up on your horns, and you've impaled the cover. The librarian comes rushing over, hearing the tumbling of all of the books here. And number 1 asks if you're okay.
Yeah, I'm alright.
And number 2 asks how we're going to be addressing the repairs for the book.
Oh, you can just put it on the tab at the Tumbled Wench.
We're a public facility, ma'am. We're not a luxury hotel. But if you're okay, that's what matters first. And it looks like you found the book. Oh, what a mess.
I'm sorry, I can help clean it.
You don't need to touch any other books, ma'am. Why don't you go sit over there, and I will make sure to have this cleaned up, and we'll discuss how to remedy this situation.
Okay.
I'm glad you were able to find what you were able to find.
Thank you, I'm sorry.
Yeah, well, please, be on your way, and if you need anything else, all you have to do is call. All right. Run along. So Norlai was doing this. Were you all just kind of waiting in this lobby area, or are you walking in?
We needed to wait long enough so that Herbert wouldn't go berserk. But other than that, I think that's all.
Yeah, so Norlai, I mean, has been off and is searching through the shelves of books for some time. So you all can make your way in. Now,
Okay.
how
Well,
do you... Oh, go
I
ahead.
already told you the things I wanted to look for, so I want to look for those things.
Okay. How, with mature century vines in the library, what is your intention on trying to overcome them, baffle them, do some sort of countermeasure in case they do catch a whiff of you and decide to make a scene in the library?
So are they like in the stacks? I don't understand how the vines work.
They're in large pots, and these pots are on sort of they're in a floral display. They're not sitting on the shelves, but they would be, where shelves would end, and then they would just have like a nice big potted plant there. And not all of them are century vines, but there's enough scattered through that, if you walk too close to a century vine, it might awaken and cause a bit of a kerfluffle.
I kind of want to stealth around them and kind of give the plants a wide berth. But
okay.
If I need to get kind of close, then it'd be kind of stealthy.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's the only thing that I would have to be able to avoid them.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like all we can really do is just sneak around and try to stay out of their way. I mean, there's not a map or anything where we can plan a route. We just have to do the best we can.
Sure. I have your intentions in mind, so we can take the way you want to address this into consideration. All right. So, Mordecai, you are. We'll do this one at a time here, and we'll resolve things going down the line. Mordecai, you want to try and find your way to stealth as much as you can around these plants. Now they react more to who you are rather than necessarily a sound or a scent.
Right.
But you've interacted with them before. And in a combat situation, let alone sort of casually now, being in the presence of Herbert and being able to kind of gauge maybe a range or what to look for when they start stirring. And so with this knowledge, you and the others, I think, are going to have an easier time. The plants are still there, and unless your intention is to destroy the plants,
no, because that's destruction of property.
Then what we can do is have you try and plot a course or be a little sneaky. Maybe, I don't know. You have to maybe do an act of acrobatics to kind of tumble through an opening from one shelf to the next, and hopefully not have a librarian catch you doing something really awkward in the library here. So there's no one chasing you as long as you're willing to take a little bit of time and scout things out. Wait for a librarian to pass before you make your move, that kind of a thing. Then I'm sure we could find a way for you to pursue your goal.
Okay.
All right.
I have another option that's just for me, and that is I can conjure up Piggy Sue, and she can.
Ah.
She's probably not going to get caught by the plants because she's not a vampire, but she is a fae, so that's not awesome. But she can probably fly over the stacks and get places without going into range of the plants more easily.
Then we will fly over that bridge when we come to it.
Okay.
I want to make sure I
you know.
do this one at a time, so I'm giving each of you a good dose of hopefully what you're looking for. But I don't know. We'll find out. You might get bonked on the head with a book. Things can happen. All right. So Mordecai, you in particular were looking for history where it crosses over with vampires, or
okay, any kind of vampire lore, as well as maybe if it ties into something related to Sanamfi.
Sure. All right. Let's have you navigate over to that section. It's a large library for a small city, but it's not a labyrinth. And things are labeled kind of by category. You could definitely tell where the plant wing is. Give me a straight up acrobatics check in order to maneuver to the section you need to be in.
Apparently the stream went down for a few people.
Oh, I didn't get a notification that I lost any frames or that I disconnected. Maybe I don't know. Maybe
I didn't lose anything.
Twitch is having a derpy night. That happens time and again.
That's fine. Yeah.
Mine just reset.
Okay.
It might be Twitch doing a dip.
Hashtag Twitch things. Okay, that's fine. All right, so
Twitch problems.
With a 19, you successfully, if occasionally awkwardly, make your way between like rows of shelves, doing a little cartwheel, kind of doing a little bit of hopscotch here and there where it's necessary.
The nimble boy.
You are, yes, that's true. Mordecai, the nimble boy. And you make your way into, I don't know, we'll call it. Well, it's hard to define what would be supernatural in sort of a D&D setting, I guess, because, I mean, if you have ghosts and undead, like, that's... Is it supernatural, or is it just a reference? Non-fiction. But, sure, we'll take you to, we'll take you to a history section. And there are shelves of books here. And you can now make... Actually, I don't know, you're kind of going around. You didn't catch an odd eye of a librarian, but at some point in time, a librarian will pass and ask you if you need help finding anything in particular, sir. In fact, it'll be Rolf, our tiefling librarian, who will address you in Infernal. Is there anything I can help you find, sir?
I like this city, and it has definitely has an interesting history.
Oh, indeed, it does.
Has Sanamfi ever been the site of anything supernatural? It's kind of where I'm.
Well, if you want to call the flowers that grow around us supernatural, then yes, I suppose so.
Definitely looking for maybe some history books on Sanamfi would be nice.
Ah, yes. And would you prefer that in our native tongue? Many of the books we have...
or common, either way.
Very well. I figured I'd ask. It's always a pleasure to see more of us in the library, or just fresh faces here in Sanamfi. He'll give you a little bit of a, I don't know. a wink and a nod, like, wow, it is really good to meet an outsider tiefling. Not that tieflings are a minority in Flowerfield, but seeing new faces, especially, people who want to come and become educated about what we're doing. As in Mesomasca, as we've established, the tieflings are like the original colonists. They're the pilgrims that settled here. So a lot of the old history of Snamfi is wrapped up with the tieflings. So he kind of, puffs his chest out a little bit, and oh yes, well, I'll help you find what it is you seek. Now, how far back do you wish to go, or is there something in particular, a cross reference of some kind that you'd like?
I tend to have a little bit of a taste for the macabre.
Oh. So perhaps religious rituals or wars, perhaps?
Things of that sort, yes.
No, very well. He'll assist, and you can make an investigation at advantage, Mordecai. Since he'll help guide you, but you are gonna know what you're looking for. A 2 or a 3. All right, so
come on.
Mordecai, you there's a so we had a 1 or a 3 or a 2 or a 3 here now. So you see a book and it is really just calling out to you, and you reach up for it, and just wouldn't you know, that it maybe some covers stuck together because it's an old it's an old book. And Mordecai, you take 4 points of bludgeoning damage as several books, very heavy books, fall on your head. And Rolf comes over. Oh, again? Oh my gosh! By the gods, this is the second time this has happened. And oh, well, here, and he takes one of the books off your horns. I think this is what you're looking for. Oh dear, we're gonna have to find a way to remedy this. I'll tell you what. Here, just go sit over there, and I'll do my best to clean up. And I'll come get you when oh my. He sort of huffs and puffs and is picking up books and trying to get things in order. And you have a book, presumably about the macabre and the history of Snamfi. And sure enough, there's Norlai, who just seems to have that comical, like, 2 band-aids over her head and over, like, a big lump on her head also. As you each are now sitting at the table of shame in the library, with books in your hands and not on your heads. Celine, let's see if you have any luck here. Celine, you're looking for. Can you remind me again? What in the library are you looking for?
In the library, I'll look for some religious texts.
Okay. Regarding anything in particular?
More specifically on Ouijas related gods, but otherwise she'll also have a look for some genealogy, more specifically to do with the flower fields.
Okay. What is... So, of the 2, what's going to be more important for you to find here?
The religious stuff to begin with.
Sure. There is a section on religion. What we'll have you do is see if you can navigate around the sentry vines. Go ahead and you can roll an acrobatics in order to try and... Well, I don't know. Yeah, acrobatics can work if you have another idea. This is more of a direct, like, I'm looking for religion, about Ouijas in particular. Not that, like in history, something about vampires may not be as explicit as this is the history where Snamfi and vampires cross. But I would allow for an acrobatics, or if you have another creative idea, how would you like to navigate the stacks of the library here, Celine?
Yeah, no, it's gonna be an acrobatics because that's all she has.
Okay.
I'm not gonna attempt to try to.
Alrighty.
Oof.
All right. So with a 6, you're attempting to there's an area where you have to, or you're gonna have to try and squeeze past a sentry vine here, and as you are, there's a cart. Maybe if I kind of keep in between the cart, shimmy, 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 and it you trip and kind of you go forward and you wobble a little too close, and the sentry vine glows blue and begins stirring. What are you going to do in response to this?
I'm going to quickly get out of its range as fast as I possibly can.
Okay. So you're just gonna you're gonna run away. Sure. Tell you what. Roll. You could just roll a d20 here. You can give me an initiative, really, and we'll see what happens first.
Wow, couldn't get that on the...
Okay.
You had hope. That was your mistake. You had hope.
So
Wow,
my unmodified 18 is going to beat your modified 18 because the plants do have a little bit of dexterity to them here. And so it is going to start wriggling around and try and lash out and bite you. And it is going to miss as it kind of extends over, and the pot kind of wobbles and falls over as it's laying on the ground. Just sort of. It's not barking, but I'm doing it for emphasis.
Well, I mean, if it's my turn, I'm not disengaging and leaving.
Okay. Okay. So you make it past the plant. However, it has fallen over, and it's sort of like it writhes for a little bit on the ground, and you do find your way to the religion section. However, there's this poor librarian named Rolf who finds his way over, and he's just looking back, and it's like, oh, I have to clean up, ma'am. What happened back there with the cart? And did you trip over that pot?
Oh, I found the plant like that. I was actually looking for a librarian to tell. I'm so glad I found you.
Deception, please.
Happily. Oh, wow! Oh,
All right, so Celine with an 8 compared to my natural 19 from Rolf the librarian here. Ma'am, you don't have to lie. It's fine. Accidents happen, but oh my goodness, I'm gonna have to clean this up. He says for the 3rd time today. And that plant is, it's somewhat uncommon. I hope it's fine. Oh my goodness, but we might have to replace it, and there might be a crack in the pottery as well. Oh, this could end up being a bit of a fine that I'm gonna have to assess to you. Look, you're here for a reason. Are you fine? I mean, aside from monetarily.
Yes.
Okay.
But yes, I know what I am looking for, and I know where to find it. So she's going to flick him a gold piece. And it's just like, I think that should cover it.
Oh, bing. Yes, this should be fine to cover a terracotta planter. Yeah, and so you're seeking some knowledge about religion, philosophy, some great arguments of Mesotopian founders.
Quite.
Oh, very well. Then I will make sure to give you advantage in an investigation.
And then I'll do that next. It's a 0. Don't screw me, die.
Hey!
Decent.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take it.
Yeah, take the 14 over the 6 any day. Okay, so you are able to find some texts on Ouijas, and books do not fall on your head. I mean, I guess we already had your encounter here, but books do not fall on your head, and you're told that if you'd like to sit down and read them, we have a reading area, a very lovely one right over here, that you can take these books to while he has to clean up the pottery and the dirt that's spilled.
Thank you, sir. This area, it isn't covered with sentry vines, is it?
No, it is clear. In fact, you can see Mordecai and Norlai also are sitting around having some books.
So Herbert's
Cool, then cool.
Oh, well, all right, so I
well,
guess Herbert's there, but,
Yeah, but I mean, there aren't any,
Not
like,
sitting
super mature
anywhere
ones.
near her. Nope.
Yeah, no, I'll go sit with Mordecai with my couple of books and read.
Okay. So now we come to little old Bright. Bright is going to summon Peggy Sue.
Mm-hmm. And I can throw her 30 feet, so hopefully I can just throw her past any...
Okay, so Bright, your plan is to hang out in the lobby and to search through Peggy Sue's eyes to find the book that you're looking for.
Yeah, and hopefully she won't attract too much attention, because a little tiny flying unicorn is totally a really common thing and no one would think twice.
Totally. Would you like Peggy Sue to attempt stealth as she's flying around?
Yeah, she can do that.
Okay.
Do you ever get me stat blocks and skill proficiencies for Peggy Sue?
Hey. Buddy? So... Mea culpa. I did not give you a specific stat block, but knowing what we're going for here, why don't you just roll a d20 and we'll see if we'll have some sort of a relevant roll off here, as Peggy Sue is very stealthily flying hither and thither throughout the library.
It's a 17.
Okay. Let's see. Unicorns.
Definitely have lots of decks. We can't probably use the real unicorn stats because they're way too good. But,
I mean, they have a +2 dex. I mean, that might be able to carry over to a tiny version, let alone a little tiny flying one. All right, so we'll say that Peggy Sue is able to, over the course of time, flit from shelf to shelf, avoiding suspicion. Rolf probably comes perilously close a couple times, where he's... he thinks he hears something and he looks down. It's like in the opening of the Ghostbusters movie where the librarian is looking and behind the librarian, the books kind of like switch shelves. Well, Peggy Sue sort of flutters from one stack to the next as the librarian just like keeps looking around, and he scratches his head, just swearing that he's seen or heard something, but it's just always on the peripheral. So he can neither confirm nor deny that there is a tiny flying unicorn in his library, scoping out books.
Okay.
So you can make now a perception to look around while you are flitting hither and thither.
For me or for Peggy Sue? I guess
Hey.
for me, because it's my eyes.
Well, yeah, it'd be your eyes because you're looking through them. Nice. Okay.
Good dice today.
So you are able to find the section on. You were looking up. One of the aspects was wild magic. You wanted to research the
I want
flowers.
to find out.
Okay.
Yeah, if there's any way that we can prevent the wild magic, and also I want the history of the vampires, and also I want to find out the history of the Flowerfield family, and also that's all.
Bright just goes to the desk. One, please. Of what? Yes. I'll have one copy of everything. All right. So you'll make your way over to the. I guess it'd be the same section here as Noralai is talking about the plants, but specifically you want to look into the the supernatural nature of the wild magic area here. You can now make a straight up investigation as Rolf is not here to help you. But you are in a, I mean, you're, oh, phew. So, with a critical success, with a 24,
Yeah, but look, the second one was also a critical fail.
oh, that's true. Yeah, so it was a 24 or a 5. This has been,
3 nat ones
yeah.
today.
All right, so what will have happen is Bright, with you have some pretty decent rolls here. You will find several books that their titles alone are going to catch your interest for the subjects plural that you're looking for. And the others are going to be sitting there at the reading table with their one book and a lump on their head or some dirt on their cloaks. However, I mean, you all can sit and read and compare notes, but you four have found subject matter that is relevant to your interests. You're going to be spending some time reading. Cliff's notes have not been invented yet. So just, I don't know, rename yourself Cliff and invent that and make some money. Especially if you live in a college town. And, hashtag just saying. Like, I'm not going to accuse anyone of using Cliff's notes for a report, but it's been known to happen on a college campus or two. So you're going to be reading, you're going to be going through this. I don't know, Bright, maybe you even have 2 books open at a time, and you're just like, I got one hand, one for the each of you here, and you're just flipping through. Your poofs and floofs are going back and forth as you're...
Use them for bookmarks.
What? Oh, you just let your hair down in one. There you go, yeah. Peggy Sue just put a little hoof down on a page to hold it down. All right, so the 4 of you
unicorn horn.
Are pouring. Oh yeah, or yeah, it's just a horn. The 4 of you are pouring through your resource material. Meanwhile, across town, with the one woman Legion of Doom, what is Jade doing back in the penthouse?
Well, Jade emerges from the penthouse,
Oh.
but she's different, very, very different. Her face, like, biologically is the same.
Okay.
But there's no tattoos, there's no scars, the burn is completely gone. Her hair is completely combed, completely flat, straight.
Okay.
Her dress is, instead of this tattered bit of rags and leathers, she's now wearing what appears to be almost like a higher end commoner's dress, or probably like a really low end finery wear.
Okay.
Distinct or a distinct common family, perhaps. And it's at this point she is walking in a very courtly manner.
Okay.
As she starts to end up looking about, and she is looking for the butler Orchid.
All right. Well, he exists in the Flowerfield Mansion. There's really been no mention that he ever leaves himself or has to leave. If you want to be destined for the mansion, then that would be the place to go, presumably.
I do apologize. I keep confusing the locations. But yes, she will definitely end up starting to approach there.
Sure. All right. So, Jade, it'll take a little while for you to walk through town towards the edge of it, and there's the very notable Flowerfield Mansion. There's a little bit of traffic coming and going, and you also see people in these sort of uniform overalls that are loading carts with bags of soil and some clay pots and some foliage as well. And just people tending the gardens that are outside, just normal day-to-day stuff. You make your way to the front door and knock.
Yes, very likely.
The door opens, and there's a couple people in the uniform overalls that come out, and one of them almost bumps into you because it looks like they're eating something. Sorry. And the other one just sort of gives you like holds up the sandwich, like, what are you gonna do? and the two tiefling workers pass by. Followed behind them is a woman of generous proportion, tiefling, and she is dressed in a very prim and proper maid outfit.
Jade is observing her surroundings for just a brief moment in time. Her eyes looking about and just almost like she's hunting for something for that brief moment as she's going by, perhaps to the soil or anything of the like. But until otherwise mentioned, she is constantly using detect magic.
Okay, all right.
But
So,
once she encounters this larger woman, this woman dressed in a maid's outfit, she gives a very polite curtsy, a very refined curtsy.
looks at you. Oh, you look a little familiar. Oh, no, maybe
I
not.
imagine I do.
Oh, well, all the same, I'm Lily Huge-Tract, and what can I do for you? Why have you come to the Flowerfield Mansion?
It is a pleasure to meet you, Lily. I would. What ends up bringing me here is I wish to converse with the Lord of the Manor, or at the very least get in contact with the butler named Orchid, if that can be arranged. I would be very grateful.
Oh, you've come for Orchid, have you? Ho, 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 ho. Well, what business
Yes.
have you with him, if I may ask?
Well, I imagine right now you're having a hard time placing my faith, so allow me to reintroduce myself. My name is Jade Stillwaters. My brother was Jacob near Stillwaters, a name of note amongst the guards, and, well, my family has a long line of being involved with, well, shall we say, guard duty for one moment or another. And I think that might be important given the current nature of the adventuring party that you currently have out, especially when it ends up coming down to the small Lord Tibba.
Oh, is that where I know your face from? Oh, well, dear, you must have powdered up nicely. I don't, I hardly even recognize you.
I imagine not. So I do apologize, but this is a very temporary state, and I can only promise I can remain lucid for so long.
Oh, well, I think I understood what you mean. Tell you what, why don't you come in? I'll fix you a snack and a drink, and I'll tell Orchid that you are here to see him.
Much obliged, and thank you very much, dear Lily. I appreciate your, well, candor in this matter.
Yes. Well, come in, and she'll lead you to a waiting room, and have you seated, and she will bring you a. She will bring you a drink and a snack here.
Jade sits very proper, cross-legged, and her hands on her lap in a very still and patient manner, admiring the finery, now that she has a moment to be able to do so. And hopefully the crawling doesn't begin too soon.
This room has a scent to it, and the fire crackles and sparks, and the maid throws some powder into it as well, which kind of goes up in a woof, and just a nice aroma wafts out. And
If I recall, this is the aroma that ended up causing Celine to end up growing quite suspicious. Is that correct?
I don't know if the aroma necessarily did.
I do apologize. This is something Jade would have been there for,
Yeah.
but I disconnected, so I'm trying to make sure I understand the content.
I don't think it was necessarily the aroma, but they were very, they kept the fire, I guess like potpourri or whatever, scented in some way, during the course of your stay. So it probably could have been suspicious, but you know.
And Jade will be fairly forthwith with it. Lily, that is a wonderful scent, but I am kind of curious. It's not often that I run into scented logs in a hearth. And what is the purpose? And if I now correct me if I'm wrong, out of character here, but this is the room that also has that silence treatment.
When the doors are closed, that's true. You can't hear what's going on outside of the room.
Very well then. But it is a fascinating little room, especially with the acoustics. If you don't mind me asking, why is that?
Oh, I wish I could tell you, but I don't. I don't really know myself. All I know is that I'm supposed to keep the fire going and keep it proper for guests, and well, this is a room probably to conduct business, and I imagine that some business is private with a lofty family such as the Flowerfields.
I'll be happy to keep that in mind. Thank you.
All right, so she leaves through the door and ends up walking this way towards the kitchen, and leaves you alone in the room for at least a short amount of time. Sounds like she already had something that she was just going to go to the kitchen and grab for you, and let alone the butler. Well, hopefully she's not going to grab the butler for you. She'll leave that to you to do. You only have to wait a couple minutes before the very stately Orchid Overfield, the head butler, I get that there's a name, not the maitre d', the
ward. Oh no, that wouldn't be it.
No, not ward. There is a
maitre d' is about as close I think as you're gonna get without stumbling over it too. I get what you're saying.
Yeah.
The person who's in charge of the service.
Yeah, the head of the servants. He's very much like a part of the family, just not a part of the family. So there we go.
That's the butler. The butler's pretty much the head servant.
I thought there was like a master butler, like a title or a vocabulary word for that.
It's pretty much just the butler.
Okay.
There's a term for the under butler, which I have. It is.
We're learning, everyone.
Somebody is looking up Made RPG again.
Suddenly our Tuesday game is now Made RPG. You fools! I gotcha. You're in my D6 grasp.
So
I'd be fed up.
We're playing Made RPG in the Tea Society of a Witch.
I guess the under butler term I was looking for is either a footman or a hall boy.
Okay. Well then we'll just stick to the butler who does all the buttling around the house.
The hall boy is pretty low ranking. He's like a male scullery maid.
Okay.
Footman is probably what you're looking for.
So the head of the servants here comes in, Orchid Flowerfield. He has that gray swirl of hair atop his chestnut. Fair skin with a matching mustache, average proportions, and he comes in and, yes, ma'am, I'm told that you have come to see me again, and he gives you a polite but a lingering glance.
Jade ends up actually taking the time to stand and give proper courtesy and formal greeting. Yes, that would be correct, Mr. Orchid, if I may be so bold as to assume.
You don't have to be bold to assume that's my first name, but you may address me as Mr. Overfield.
Mr. Overfield, then my greatest apologies. I will end up getting quick and to the point, Mr. Overfield. Yes, you do remember me. Unfortunately, in my previous state, I was not near as lucid, and I am afraid that this lucidity that I have gained is currently on borrowed time.
Borrowed time. Well, what can I help you with then? Why are you here on borrowed time?
The truth of the matter is at this point, it has to end up doing with your lord and the young Tibba. you ended up gathering a group of adventurers to end up going to end up seeking his fate, and preferably to end up ridding the city of a plight of undead. This is from what I can remember. I do have to apologize. As I said, lucidity is rare for me. But has what I said so far been correct?
I can't say that I've been the one to gather things. I'm not very familiar with Master Flowerfield's thoughts or operations, but I do know that poor Tib is out there somewhere, and the family is grieving and hoping for his return. From what I recall,
Yes.
you had been asked to come here to serve that purpose, but were asked to leave in quite a hurry.
Yes, and that is to the detriment of both parties. I think you'll agree.
I'm not necessarily in a position to say what is good or bad for the family.
That is understandable. But as you end up serving the family, I wish to end up having an accord with you, because at this point, the tempers are flaring on both sides, and it does no one any good to end up acting rash and reckless. So, in a, shall we say, bid, I am now taking the turn to end up coming here on my own. None of the others know that I am here. This is an extension of trust, you see, and that is something that is woefully lacking at this point. I'm hoping that this showing is taken in good faith.
How is it that I can help you? I'm simply the head of staff here.
At this point, the group is trying to end up gathering resources, histories, trying to end up, well, gathering knowledge. But unfortunately, the task ahead might end up requiring a bit more time in that regard. We are currently not only seeking out the fanged creature's den, but also that we have run across a fowl of Fey origins, which is a plague to be taken just as seriously. This is where the confrontation can be found at its core. A simple example of that is a room that cannot be heard from the outside, might end up offering security, but the scent in the room would end up giving hints of a Fey touch, as well as many of the plants that you have ended up showing throughout your city, which ends up putting many of us at unease. I'm sorry to say. This is proving to be very detrimental in our current pursuits, and I wish to end up getting to an understanding. Now you are very close to the Lord of the Manor, and that would end up implying that you at least would know him well enough to end up understanding where his mind is at. Let me be clear. Once I stop being lucid, I will not stop hunting these things. I will continue until every last bit of them is vanquished, removed from this earth. However, at this point, good faith needs to be restored in one way or another. And it's with that in mind that I now approach. You will also note that I have come unarmed, which for an adventurer you can imagine is a very tough position to place themselves in.
He's been standing at attention and watching you. His eye contact has been impeccable, and he does make small nods every now and again to show that he is recognizing your words, though he has maintained a very practiced, polite but blank face as you've been speaking. And in fact, here you hear you see through the windows. There's 3 kids that just go tearing down the hall, and this tiefling like nursemaid is just like running and bouncing after them. Oh, come back, you little devils! And they go ha 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 ha, and I don't even know where. And the butler just he goes over to the doors and closes in the mid sentence. in mid-sentence, and the sound just stops when the room has been closed up again. I'm dreadfully sorry about that, ma'am. The master's children are apparently having a bit of a romp, it would seem.
It would seem.
Jade, make a perception at disadvantage. Okay, then. 3 is noted. Roll a 1. Your eyeballs fall out. No, I'm just kidding.
Oh boy!
I automatically assume a loss on disadvantage. So.
Hey, we gotta be consistent here. Okay, so the tiefling maid sort of jiggles past, chasing after the kids, who are just sort of laughing and ha-haing and doing kid stuff. And the butler turns and I'm sorry, you may continue. That was very impolite.
It's I that would be apologizing to you for impoliteness, though I'm pretty sure in a few moments that probably will mean very, very little. So again, I am wondering where the mind of the Lord is at this current state, if he is capable of accepting audience, or if he is still as livid as to be unable to end up here speaking, or no want to do so. Because at this point, if I were to go to him directly, 1, that would be assuming a great breach of position. 2, it would be considered horribly impolite. And 3, it would end up showing him no degree of sincerity if I were to simply do so.
I will go and speak to him and see if he's willing to give you a second chance. Miss Huge Trek informed me of your family, and I am familiar, being in this service as well. I'm familiar with your pedigree. The fact that you've come back alone and you are not as you once were earlier, that could weigh in your favor. However, the master could still dismiss you. I will make you no guarantee, but that I will quit this room and I will go seek him out and discover if he's willing to hold audience with you once more.
That is understandable. I just wish to end up laying all the cards on the table.
Very well. Then I will leave you here. I presume that you have adequate food and drink?
I think that would be to the detriment if I were to do so. But I appreciate your hospitality nevertheless.
He gives that almost like heel, like that 2 feet together, kind of a curt little bow, and he turns on his heels and opens the doors once more. Comes back and makes sure to throw another handful of this stuff on the fire, and then he leaves.
Is this stuff currently like in a bag near the fire?
Yeah. It's so it'd be, there's nothing so crude as to have a bunch of like fire logs just or firewood just sort of piled up here. But this bag, it is woven very nicely. Has a wonderful flower embroidery on the outside of it. It is hanging on a hook by the side of the fireplace.
I will take a pinch of that. Could be useful for later. Let's say 2 or 3 pinches, just enough to end up having a few uses of it. I'm
okay. It smells very, very strong and floral.
Yes, as I can smell. It's quite lovely. But does it radiate any form of magic?
It does not.
And neither does the fire, correct?
The fire did. From when you looked at it last time, it was evocation magic.
So the fire is not actually burning, or it is never burning. Well, that's to be expected.
And when you looked around, also the chandeliers had something similar. Like all the light sources, as well, were magical.
That is quite interesting, given the location. And now that Jade's lucid enough to actually put these pieces together.
All right, so you're there. You're waiting. You're sniffing mysterious powders and gazing at the magical layer of reality. You know, common stuff for Jade.
Though she is keeping composure.
Oh, yeah, brilliantly. um, the some other. So I guess this would be the lower ranking staff that we were talking about, or that Bright was bringing up. Come by, and they seem to be just sort of like sweeping up the hallway, like just outside here, just going through and making their way around here. And the maid goes back to the kitchen, which is in the room beyond here as well, while you're waiting. Some time's gonna pass. Now, for those of you in the library, I haven't forgotten about you, but I mean, you're studying books, so we can summarize this, I think, a little bit easier with a little bit of creative dice rolling than sort of an in-person, you know, using invocations and such with Jade here. So I haven't forgotten about you. Hang in there, my library crew. We will come back to you here after we've had this interaction with the things that only Jade are doing right now. Plus, I mean, you all can study and compare notes in the books that you're finding and sort of, you know, help each other out that way as well. So if you have particular, in this meantime, if you have particular questions, maybe things that you were talking about as a group before, if you're seeking, you know, certain answers as research, you can get those questions ready, and I might be able to more directly address them through your all's resolution, as I will go through now with a resolution of things with Jade in the mansion. Does that make sense? Okay.